Hi everybody, this is Erica. Welcome to Broadcast Mom. I'm glad to have you visit my channel. Today I want to talk about this really ugly word. It's bankruptcy. I know that if you were like I was about 10 years ago, when I had to file bankruptcy because I had no other choice, that it probably freaks you out. It seems like there are so much negative energy put out there about bankruptcy, so much negative information on us as a society, especially us as Americans. If we file bankruptcy, then we're a failure. We've given up. We're going to have terrible credit forever. It's awful. Sometimes it's just inevitable. And right now, we're in the middle of a pandemic still, a never-ending pandemic. A lot of people have lost their jobs, lost their income, lost their housing, or being faced with the reality of losing their housing. And the creditors don't stop. They still come after you. They can be absolutely ruthless. They can keep you awake at night. They can file lawsuits against you to try and get you to pay through a judgment. It's really horrible, and sometimes there's just no choice, but there's a choice. You can either let all of your credit go and just avoid the creditors who will eventually catch up to you through the court system, or at the very least by reporting negatively to the credit bureaus, or you can consider filing bankruptcy. When I filed bankruptcy, my daughter had recently been born, and we were in the middle of a recession. It was around 12 years ago, in fact, a little bit less than maybe. And I had a lot of clients, and people started getting really scared to spend money. And so my clients started going away like overnight, and I went from doing really well to having next to no income, and it was frightening. And at the time, I was the primary breadwinner in my family, and it was just scary. I had utilized a lot of credit. I had a very high debt with credit card companies, and they were not being very forgiving. They were mean. They would call me. They would call my husband. They would call my parents' house. They were just really horrible. At the time, I was married to someone who was not understanding regarding finances, even though the money was coming from me. He was very mean about it. And so I had a ton of pressure on me to do something. And finally, I decided that the best choice was to file bankruptcy. And I chose a bit of an alternative method. I decided to represent myself in the bankruptcy. I learned that there are ways that you can do it yourself online. It cost me maybe, after all was said and done, a few $100s. And even if I chose to, I could have found a way to get the court to excuse the cost. So I had to pay an online company to help me fill out the paperwork. It was just online forms to where I filled out the information, and then I filed them in through the court system where I live, and I went to court. And it was interesting, but it worked. I dealt with somebody called a trustee. Because I showed up without a lawyer when it was my court date, I was forced to go last, so the lawyers will go first, but it did not cost me much money. He was not as nice to me. In fact, he was pretty nasty with me because I chose to represent myself, but I ended up having to revise my paperwork, and I had to resubmit it. And eventually I had my bankruptcy handled, and it was discharged, and the entire process took the better part of a year. But once it was done, it gave me a clean slate. It also took away a lot of my stress, a lot of my anxiety. I didn't have creditors calling anymore. And once you officially file bankruptcy paperwork with the court, they are not allowed to contact you anymore. And they can't do anything. So once you file that paperwork, the petition for bankruptcy, everything that's nasty financially happening to you stops. It stops all negative financial stuff that's absolutely freaking you out. And once that bankruptcy is over, especially if you file a Chapter 7, your credit card debt will go away. Any credit stuff, beside from student loans and the IRS, it disappears. You can reaffirm your car payment if you want to keep your car, which I did, and so that continued. There are ways to do everything. In short, it really was not that bad. It gave me a clean slate. It made me feel better. Within about a year, I had creditors offering credit to me again. And reestablishing my credit was not difficult, and it continued. It made it to where when I went to buy a car again, I had a slightly higher interest rate because my credit score was not as high as it had been, to say the least. But creditors were really forgiving, because during that time, a lot of people had been forced to file bankruptcy, and it was just becoming the norm. And during the pandemic, I'm sure that we're in the same situation where a lot of people are just forced to file bankruptcy. It's survival. It's what you have to do, because if a creditor files a judgment through the court system on you, then if you stop paying or you default on that judgment to pay them back, then they can tap into your bank account. It can get really scary to have somebody messing with your money. So bankruptcy might actually be the better option for you. If you're broke, if you're scared financially, consider filing bankruptcy. The laws are different based on the state that you're in, but it's very doable. You can file on your own, or you can go get assistance to have someone file with you. It might be the best option for you. I'm not saying I'm in favor of it, but if you have to do it, it's not the end of the world, and it might actually help you out. It might give you a fresh start and a new perspective, and it might make it where you can start to afford your bills again instead of worrying about paying off all of these creditors who are just charging you crazy interest and late fees because you just can't catch up. That's it for now. Please like my video and subscribe to my channel. Talk to you later. Bye.